everybody introducing our new Superintendent Dr. Rivera.
Good morning. Nothing like starting the morning. Thank you, man. Nothing like starting like with a little school spirit. It takes me back to my high school principal days. It's always exciting, especially with the school song. But good morning, Skeeter Nation. Hope you guys doing okay on this beautiful Tuesday morning, right? Before I start with the content of the presentation, I hope everybody got a great spring break. You took some time for yourself, took your time for your families, and came back recharged. I know I did. I got the opportunity to go visit my parents in Puerto Rico, which I haven't been there probably in a year, and now that they're in their mid-70s, I try to get there as much as possible, but when I get there, they put me to work. There's a lot of lights, some TV mounts, and if you ever know anything about the Caribbean, it's not panel, it's concrete. So if you're drilling into the walls, you're drilling into the walls. And so it took me a while. But I left recharged, rejoiced, and every time I help my parents, it just really makes me feel good, right? I was born in Puerto Rico, language is Spanish, it's the first language. I came to the U.S., didn't know English. Teachers like yourself took time to mentor me, grow me, and pour into me. And, in the video that was released, I think this week, talked a little bit about Mr. Medina, what he did for me. I wasn't a good student. I didn't like studying. I didn't really care for anything that was going on in school. And that teacher lit the fire in me. And that's what got me to be a teacher. I'm not an education major. I'm alternative certified. But when I got the opportunity to teach, which was supposed to be only 1 year, I found my why. I found my calling. My parents are not educated. My mom went to 7th grade. My dad went to 6th grade. So education wasn't in our DNA. But they did do one thing. They supported me through that. Whatever my teacher said, and that's what went. It didn't matter what I said. And sometimes I didn't even tell them what happened in school, because I would just get it at home when I got home, right? And so they supported the teachers, they supported education, and that's why I'm here today. My family supported me no matter what. My current family, I have 5 kids. My wife Vanessa works for the district. And so she works at Henry Elementary, and she keeps me grounded, right? Every time there's a decision made, she tells me, what were you thinking? Explain to me why is that the best decision for the district? And I go and explain it to her, and she's like, okay, it makes sense. And so she keeps me grounded. I like to have that voice at home, because it keeps me grounded about what happens. But she's a huge support to me. She's a huge support to the family. As you can probably imagine, in this job, you're gone a lot. You put in a lot of hours, and you're in the community, and she steps up and covers for me at home with all those kids when I'm not there. And then my students, the students here in the community, the students that I've interacted for the last 4 years are just amazing. I've had the privilege of working in 5 different districts, and I got to Mesquite as quick as I could. But this is the place that I call home today, and if I tell people this, the first day I got to Mesquite, it felt like I was back in Puerto Rico at home. Warm community, the staff was amazing, students were great. I started having conversations with students. I'm privileged that I still have conversations with students. I know I saw some of the students here, they're in the Superintendent Advisory Council. I know, there you are. I've had the privilege of talking with them, and I'll tell you, those are the best days that I have in any job that I've had in Mesquite, when I've interacted with students, when I read to students in elementary campuses, when I get to see what they're doing and how important school is for them. So that's my why. And then the community. I've been part of AMBUCS, Rotary, Chamber of Commerce in the 4 years that I've been in Mesquite. And I've really entrenched myself in this community. And I can tell you, this community is humble, it's hungry, and they really care for each other. And when you have those 3 things, the sky is the limit. So we just got to surround our schools to support that. Last 4 years, so I was talking to somebody the other day, and they were talking about position. And I say, well, leadership is not about position. Leadership is about influence. And then the person said, well, that's easy to say when you had 4 different positions in 4 years in Mesquite. And that is true, right? That is true. But I only really applied for 2, which was the first one that I got here, and of course I had to apply for the superintendent job. But the other ones came as a result of all the things that you see on the screen: interaction with principals, interaction with students, interaction with community members. I'm a firm believer that when you pour yourself into your job, and really, this job, your job, our job, is not a job, it's a lifestyle. Could you agree with that? It's a lifestyle because it doesn't end. It doesn't begin when the bell rings, and it doesn't end when the bell rings, or it doesn't begin when the duty day begins and when the duty day ends. It's a continuous thing. You know, when I was talking to communication, I said I always sleep with my phone on my chest, and then my wife always removes it and puts it on the nightstand and says I'm going to get cancer or something like that, right? But the reason is I don't want to miss an important call, and there's always a need for communication. There's always a need to stay connected. And so what you see here, you know, you see Mesquite Firefighter, Citizens Fire Academy. I went through that when I was building the Fire Academy in Vanguard because I wanted to know what all that was about because I had no background in firefighting. So I entrenched myself in different things in the community because I wanted to make sure that I understood Mesquite. And I did that early. I think my first year I was here, I was involved in so many things that I really got to understand what the Mesquite community was all about. Thank you. I really purposely put this slide here because the last 2 years, can we all agree that the last 2 years have been rough? They've been beyond dealing with a global pandemic. You know, I was a teacher. I was an instructional coach. I was an assistant principal. I was a principal. I was an executive director. But I was never none of those things in a global pandemic. So for me to say that I understand what you've been through, it's not true. We try to make the best decisions that we could to make sure the obstacles were removed for you, but pandemic, political turmoil, health advice flipping every day. We're gonna go virtual, we're not gonna go virtual. You guys lived that, and I wanna say from the bottom of my heart, thank you, because what you did for kids, it was just remarkable. You pivoted on a dime. From one day to the next, we went 1-to-1, and I know that because I was actually in the innovation department at the time, in charge of creating a plan as quickly as possible. We created Learn Anywhere, we created all these things because of you. And so I want to say thank you for everything that you've done for the students, the families. Before I got ready to do this tour, I Googled news media clips from Mesquite ISD, and what I saw was nothing but remarkable. You guys went and helped families. I mean, there was teachers that did amazing things for the community. We fed, I can't even keep track of how many meals we fed in the community. And you guys were there because I drove around and I saw you guys giving out meals. So thank you. The one thing that I could do, and this is what I did, and I told the principals, regardless of enrollment next year, because I also know that you spend a lot more times covering for other teachers than getting your conference time. Can we agree on that too? It was a lot of covering. I know that. I covered a couple classes myself. Didn't do it enough, because if I weren't, it probably would be done every day. But the times that I had, I went and covered in classrooms and tried to get teachers relief. But the one thing that I said this year, in my previous role as deputy, is that I was going to keep staffing flat. Usually at this time of the year, principals either lost units or gain units depending on enrollment. I didn't do that. I went to the board and I said, all right, trustees, I want to get permission from you guys to do a deficit budget that will not cut any teachers, so next year we can have as much as a normal year as possible without covering for each other if we don't need to. If principals hire 100% of the vacancies given early in the year, and we keep that staff starting the school year, everybody will get a conference time, everybody will get their time to relax, and then you can do what you do best, which is address the needs of students. Can we get that right? So, I told the principals that, and so as of now, we give them allotments, and no one, even if you lost 100 kids in enrollment, you still kept the teachers that you have. So nobody's moving around. The only thing is if we start the year, and let's just say Mesquite High School has a resignation. Somebody gets married, moves away, and Horn High School has an extra teacher that I didn't cut. I will probably move that teacher from that campus to the campus that has a vacancy because you have an extra unit, right? But if no one leaves, everyone stays put where they're at, then we get to enjoy the benefit of having a full staff and everyone can go on. So, but that is because of what you guys did. And so the board agreed. They said, absolutely, do what you need to do. If we need to go into fund balance for 1 year, we'll do that and then we'll reassess it next year, because I can only make promises for 1 year. Then we'll reassess and look to see what we can do. All right? So thank you guys. All right, so we talked a little bit about what does leadership change involve, and you know, I was privileged enough to get a lot of learning from Dr. David Bruin. He's been a mentor to me. He's been a friend. I consider him a family member. That's as much time as we spent together. But we're a little bit different in a lot of ways. And so, as we move forward, go ahead, Sabrina. All right. So, you guys have seen this before, right? These are the things that we've been working on. When the pandemic hit, we were in the middle of reassessing to do a strategic planning that every district in Texas does. And that's a 5-year commitment that you make. Well, can you imagine doing a 5-year commitment when you don't even know what's going to happen after the pandemic? Or whether the pandemic, how long it was going to last? So what we decided to do was stick to these 7 things that we were already working on and continue to work on those as we move out of the pandemic for 3 years. Now, if the pandemic lasted longer, we will reassess. But hopefully, if you're following the trends, maybe we have the trail end of that. And so I'm a little bit optimistic. So next year will be our 3rd year of the strategic roadmap, which are those 7 things here in front of you. And so at the end of the 3 years, we would reassess. And then if any of you participated in a committee of 50 that came in together and built strategies to do a strategic plan, then we will do that after next year, and we'll do a 5-year strategic plan. We'll assess what we are, and we'll move forward. But right now, we're continuing with these 7 things. Maybe not at the same pace. That will be determined according to where we are. I've had a lot of questions about IO. I've had a lot of questions about the LTL. Hopefully, you're using those things. I know IO, you're setting goals with your student, just one student. We'll reassess where we are as we move forward. But our board of trustees has told us, hey, let's stay focused on these. Nothing really new going on to next year. And I know you guys probably appreciate that. So going into the next slide. So what am I going to focus on, right? Because I already done on these things. Here are the things that we're going to focus on. Currently, we're working on the budget. And I know everybody's interested about compensation, right? What is our compensation going to look like? I've been in communication with districts in our area. I've been working with our CFO, Pete Palby, and we are this close to coming up. If you stay tuned to the April board meeting, we're going to be spending some nights the coming weeks before the board meeting trying to, how much of a raise you guys are going to get, and then working on retention. What is our retention structure is going to look like? How are we going to reward people that have been in Mesquite for the long haul? That's one of our focuses right now, because we know that recruitment is not really working. We need to keep the good people that we have, like yourselves, in the positions and reward you for staying in Mesquite for the long haul. So, how are we doing that? You'll see in the April board meeting. I'll be meeting with the trustees next week, one-on-ones, and unveiling the plan for the proposal that I want. But as y'all know, it's up to the board to vote yea and nay as we move forward. But I think you're going to like the plan that we have, and we're trying to make it as equitable as possible and fair to professional and non-professional staff. I think both are so important in the role that we play in education. But as you can probably imagine, and I want you to consider this, there's only a limited amount of dollars in the bucket. And I only have that bucket to work with, and so we're trying to plan. But your priority, professional staff is a priority, and then how we move forward. And then going on to climate and culture. Coming out of COVID, we've taken a hit. We've taken a true hit. Social, emotional, not only students, but even staff. Heck, I've even found myself sometimes thinking about all the things that we've had to deal this year and how they've affected me, and my family, and cabinet, and principals. And we talk about that when we meet, because it affects us. We're humans too. Just because we have a position of leadership, it doesn't mean that we're immune to everything that's going on. We're also affected, but we know that in a leadership role, we have to look out for the people that we lead. And so, working on climate and culture and going back to those 4 core values that we hold true to us in Mesquite, we got to get back to the 4 core values. And so, taking care of our staff, taking care of our community, I think if we do those 2 things, then you guys in turn take care of our kids, and we move forward. We know we have a steep hill to climb, and so starting new things that affect district-wide is not the right time for those things. So we're going to stay the course. We're going to not start anything new, unless it's a program that helps you or something like that. The litmus test that I'm using when anybody brings anything new to me is that how is that making the teacher's job easier? Or how is it making payroll's job easier? Or how is it making, just fill in the department. If it makes it easier on the people, then I will consider it. But if it's going to add more work, then I'm not going to consider it. That's what I'm using for next year as we go in. Is that fair? Okay, next slide, please. And so, as we talk about leadership, one of the things that I'm always really big on is leadership development. And leadership development is a lifetime journey, not a quick trip. Nobody ever arrives. I haven't gotten anywhere, right? Because it's not about position, it's about development, where you develop yourself. And I always have a saying that a mother always told me, it doesn't matter how much you achieve if you're not helping others improve their lives. So it doesn't matter how much I achieve. Yeah, I came from Puerto Rico and maybe I have this position, but I haven't achieved anything if I haven't helped others achieve their dreams. It's about helping others. This is a people business, and it doesn't matter where you are in the organization. Develop your leadership skills, not about a title, and help other people. Whether it's a staff member, a family that is in need, or another professional who just needs an ear. And so, I'm really big on these things. Last slide, please. And so, I've gotten to the point of questions. Hopefully, I cleared up a little bit. If I haven't gotten to know you in my interactions in the 4 years in Mesquite that I've been, hopefully you got to see a little bit about who I am. I'm not a sugarcoater, I get things straight, but I'm a very pragmatic person. It's a very pragmatic approach to solving problems. You ask me a question, make sure you want to know the answer, because I will tell you the answer, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. But there's been some questions about the extra 10 minutes, and I'm going to address that because you're probably going to ask me that, right? The extra 10 minutes added to the schedule. So, back when the Omicron was, Dr. Ruhlman gave 2 days off. Y'all remember that? In the back end of another long weekend. So when we added up the minutes, instructional minutes, that is, we have 2 items that we have to consider when you're dealing with school. Contract days, which is the days, most of you are 187. There's 210, 192, but then there's instructional time. Instructional time of the minutes is the state says that you have to have of instruction. So we addressed the minutes for those 2 days. We didn't have to cover anything. We didn't have to add. So we took those away. But in the 2 other days that we took after that, we had them on the calendar to make up. But then there were another days that were canceled, and those are the ones that the board said, we took it to the board as a recommendation. They said absolutely. Even if you're 187, 215, whatever your contract is, you don't have to work those 2 days, we'll pay you. But the instructional minutes is what we have to make up, and that's what we do the extra 10 minutes. Thank you so much. Have a great day.